I'm getting married soon. When the woman I had always admired confessed this to me, everything went dark before my eyes. Back in high school, during a tough time, she was the only one who stood by my side. I went to the reunion, even though I didn't feel like going, just to see her. And just as I was about to confess my feelings after all these years, she looked happy, thinking of someone else. The person you're marrying, could it be? My worst fears were about to come true in a way I never imagined. The person who showed up late to the after party was. What's with that attitude? Should I fire you, you incompetent fool? It was the same guy, both back then and now, who always looked down on me, an old nemesis. This moment marked the beginning of a fight I just couldn't walk away from. To stop the marriage of the woman I first loved. To save the one who once saved me. My name is Danny, 30 years old. Today, I've come to a banquet hall at a hotel for my high school reunion. Naturally, all of my former classmates have grown into adults, but as I took a closer look, I could still see traces of who they once were, and just as I thought, this is fascinating, I suddenly heard a voice from behind. Danny! I'm so glad you came. Oh, hi. It was a tall woman in a navy blue dress. Her fair skin and almond-shaped eyes gave her a sophisticated look. With her sharp, well-defined features, she was a beauty without a single flaw. But even more captivating than her model-like face was her long, lustrous hair fell past her shoulder blades, almost glowing. Hee, what's wrong? Don't tell me you didn't recognize me? The beautiful woman chuckled at my curt greeting. As she laughed, her black hair swayed softly. Her hair was so beautiful that I couldn't help but follow it with my eyes. It was impossible to focus on the conversation. Even other classmates, casually chatting nearby, were glancing at her now and then. Honestly, I'm a little disappointed. I'm so happy to see you, but you don't seem to feel the same. Sorry. I'm just teasing. Anyway, it's been a while, Danny. Yeah, it really has, Anna. Awkwardly, I greeted my high school classmate. Her name is Anna. The only reason I came to this reunion was, simply, to see her. Danny! I saw you talking with Anna earlier. As Anna walked away, saying catch you later as a friend called her over, my classmates immediately gathered around. They surrounded me, all complaining with remarks like, "You're so lucky, and that's not fair." After all, back in high school, Anna was the one every guy dreamed about. Sorry. I just need to go to the restroom for a moment. I felt uncomfortable being the center of attention, so I quickly slipped out of the banquet hall. I'm already tired. I'm really not cut out for places like this. I found a quiet corner in the hallway where no one would come, finally able to take a breath. Back in high school, I used to do the same thing, finding places where no one else was around, just to avoid my classmates. Remembering that didn't exactly fill me with joy. In times like these, it was always Anna who would manage to find me. Talented, beautiful, smart, and athletic, a perfect honor student who was friendly with everyone. Honestly, she was way out of my league. If it weren't for Anna, I definitely wouldn't have come here. It all started about a month ago. I work at a small and medium-sized IT company. I was scheduled to meet the representative from the new client company for the first time during our business negotiations. We exchanged business cards, and as we did, we both said, "Wait." In surprise. Could it be? Danny? Anna, is that you? Incredibly, the client was an old classmate from high school. And not just any classmate, but someone I remembered particularly well. This is unbelievable. I never thought I'd run into you like this, Danny. Anna murmured with a hint of nostalgia, her sharp eyes softening. Seeing her looking even more beautiful than before, I completely forgot we were here for work. Anna started the conversation with me, saying, "Oh, by the way, Danny, are you going to the reunion?" The reunion? Our high school one. I already RSVP'd, but how about you? Well. Honestly, I'd forgotten all about the invitation postcard until she mentioned it. I had no intention of going, so the reunion wasn't even on my radar. But I'd be happy if you came too, Danny. I'll go. Before I knew it, the words just slipped out. When she lit up and said, "Really?" I instantly regretted my impulsiveness, though it turned out to be the right choice. Anna, what's up, Danny? Never mind. I ended up graduating from high school without ever telling her those words. Each time we met for work, I tried to say it, but I could never muster the courage, letting time slip by. I'm glad I decided to go after all. I feel like I might actually be able to say it tonight. I've always struggled with social situations and expressing my feelings. But I decided to take advantage of the relaxed atmosphere of the reunion. If the conversation flowed naturally, maybe the right moment would come up. All right. I can do this. Tonight's the night. Pep-talking myself, I headed back into the banquet hall. I watched for a chance when Anna, constantly surrounded by classmates, might be alone. And that moment finally came during the second round at the bar, halfway through. Sorry I couldn't talk with you sooner. I'm the one who invited you, after all. As she sat beside me in the corner of the room, Anna looked apologetic. I'd been sipping on drinks alone, waiting for a chance to talk with her, so the alcohol was already hitting me. Feeling the weight of my own hesitation, I felt all the more pathetic. It was my fault, yet here she was, apologizing to me. All I had to do was ask her to talk one-on-one from the start. But without the courage to do so, I'd wasted hours just brooding, just like back in high school. No, I'm the one who should be apologizing. Why should you apologize? You don't seem yourself. Really? That's right. Where's that composed Danny from work? You always answer any question right away, and even when there's trouble. You handle it calmly and flawlessly. I really respect that about you. Thanks. It wasn't just the alcohol, I could feel my face heating up uncontrollably. Her words were as straightforward and sincere as ever, just like back then. Back in those days, I couldn't handle how dazzling she was. I couldn't take her words at face value. Ah. There you are, Danny. Whenever I was alone, Anna would always find me, even if I was at the farthest edge of the school. In high school, I never fit in with others and was always by myself. The classroom felt uncomfortable, and while I could tolerate it during classes, I couldn't stand being there even a minute during lunch. I would sneak away to eat in a quiet, deserted spot every day. Hey, mind if I join you for lunch? At some point, a girl from my class started joining my daily escape. She was a model student, class president, and rumored to be the most beautiful girl in school. Always bright and cheerful, she was the opposite of my brooding, solitary self. Why? I couldn't help but ask bluntly. Anna, without seeming to notice, made a small gesture as if thinking, saying, Because I can't pretend not to notice, you know? She said with a smile, as if it was nothing. Ha! Well, I am the class president. I can't just ignore a classmate eating alone, you know? That's a personal choice, isn't it? Oh. That right there. Ha! You always have your own opinions, Danny. It must be because you're so smart. I think it's really cool. I couldn't say anything. No one had ever complimented me so honestly, then or since. Feeling my face suddenly heat up, I was so overwhelmed that I couldn't respond to anything she said. In the end, I mostly ignored her, but she still came to find me every day after that. Anna. What is it, Danny? Anna tilted her head slightly, in the same way she used to back then. As she did, her hair flowed smoothly, and it was so beautiful that I couldn't help but feel my heart skip a beat. Just when I'd finally calmed down, my face was starting to feel hot all over again. Thank you, for back in high school. At last, I managed to say what I'd come here to say. I wanted to thank her for being the one person who showed me kindness back then. This was why I had been watching for a chance to speak with her all night. Sorry it took me so long to say this. Even if you did it out of a sense of duty as class president, I was grateful. It meant a lot. Knowing someone cared. Danny. Because Anna was there, my high school life wasn't completely dark. I can say there were good memories too, only because of Anna's overly caring kindness. At a time when I didn't have room to care about anyone else, I secretly respected her for being so different from me. And secretly. Anna. What is it, Danny? Well. The words were right there, but I just couldn't get them out. Suddenly, Anna stood up slightly. Hey, your face is completely red. Hold on, I'll get you some water. Ah. No, that's not it. I tried desperately to find the words to stop her, to keep her from leaving, but just then, as she moved, her hair swayed like a gentle wave. Your hair. Ha? Your hair. It's really beautiful, you know. Ha ha. Laughing awkwardly, I blurted out the first thing that came to mind, practically sounding like a weirdo. She didn't say anything. Sorry for saying that out of the blue. That must have come off as creepy. Really, I'm sorry. Anna froze with a serious expression, and I hurriedly apologized. So, is this the end of my years-long unrequited love? Feeling dejected inside, I cautiously glanced at her face. I'm happy. I love it most when someone compliments my hair. To my surprise, she was smiling, her cheeks faintly flushed. The expression on her face, combined with her usual cool demeanor, was so adorable that it took my breath away. And at that moment, I thought to myself, I really do love her. The long hair suits me, doesn't it? He always says it looks beautiful on me. Her words hit me like a punch to the head. But the shock didn't stop there. Yes. I'm getting married soon. What? With a radiant, happy smile, the woman I'd been in love with all these years announced her engagement. That's congratulations. Thank you. He couldn't make it to the reunion because of work, but he said he'll come pick me up when the after-party's over. I see. What? Amidst the overwhelming shock, I fixated on her mention of reunion. If not for work, he would have been here. So, that means. Anna, your fiance is. Is he someone from high school? Just as I was about to ask, someone suddenly tapped me on the shoulder from behind. Hey, Danny. Thanks for keeping Anna company. Ha! The man turned a cheerful smile toward me as I looked back in surprise. He was impeccably dressed in a well-tailored suit, with a modern aura and the kind of good looks anyone would notice. In an instant, everything clicked, and I felt the blood drain from my face. Anna, your fiancé is Leo? Hey, don't get too familiar. Once I take over as president, you'll be the first person I fire, got it? I fell silent. His voice was low and venomous, a far cry from his earlier friendly tone, as he whispered near my ear, pressing his hand painfully on my shoulder. Well, got anything to say, Danny? Worthless little employee? Sorry. Leo and I were high school classmates, both in the same senior year class. But now, our positions couldn't be more different. The reason is, Leo's father is the president of the company I work for. What are you two chatting about over there? When Anna tilted her head, Leo immediately let go of me. He sat beside her and wrapped his arm around her shoulders with a cheerful smile. Oh, just saying how happy I am to see Danny here tonight. Is that so? Now that I think about it, you two work at the same company. What a coincidence. Exactly. You know, Danny's always been brilliant, even back in high school. He's incredible at work too, I rely on him all the time. I'm so grateful to my dad for hiring him. I was speechless. Leo had always been like this. He had a perfect public image, charming and friendly, the ideal student on the surface. But beneath that facade, man, just having this guy around ruins the whole class vibe, doesn't it? People like you who can't handle social situations shouldn't even bother coming to school, right, Danny? That voice still rings in my ears as if it were yesterday. In high school, I had extreme difficulty communicating with others and ended up isolated. And Leo, as the ringleader of his group, had decided I would be their target. Whenever Anna or the teachers weren't around, he and his friends would circle me, throwing insults and laughing at my expense. Upset, huh? Go ahead, tell someone if you can. Not that anyone would ever bother listening to you. Leo's words left a deep scar on my heart. Knowing I had no allies only made me withdraw further into my shell. I figured college would be more of the same, so I skipped it and went straight into the workforce after graduation. At my current company, though, I got lucky. So, life's been hard for you up until now, hasn't it? Our company president, Mr. Simon Klein, showed me understanding and went out of his way to make sure I was comfortable in my work. But that changed. Well, who'd have thought you'd end up working here? I'll make sure my dad doesn't fire you, for old time's sake. You'd better be grateful. High school grad. This happened last year. Suddenly, our company was bought out by another firm, and Mr. Klein had to step down. The new president was the president of the acquiring company, Mr. Kirkland. And, to my misfortune, the president's son, Leo, also became my new colleague. Leo was the same classmate from high school, the one who had left me with scars that still hadn't healed. The new president, Mr. Kirkland, was like an amplified version of Leo's worst traits. He played favorites with Leo, his own people, and a select few employees, while others were openly neglected. Needless to say, I fell into the unfavored category and was suddenly reassigned to a new department under Miles, one of Mr. Kirkland's cronies, who called me the most useless guy in sales and insulted me daily. Without any allies, I found myself an outcast again, just like in high school. So, you probably heard by now. Anna and I are getting married. As a friend and colleague, you're happy for us, right, Danny? Leo grinned, still holding Anna close, just as he always did, rebuking Miles with a "come on, that's too much," only to turn around and hurl insults at me when no one else was around. Anna looked at him, cheeks blushing with happiness, smiling as she gazed back into his eyes. I couldn't even bring myself to reply. My silence must have annoyed him. Losing his patience, Leo accidentally let his true self slip out in front of her. Hey! Don't ignore me, you slug. Having gone to high school with you is the biggest embarrassment of my life. Remember this tomorrow at work. Got it? Leo. How could you say that to Danny? Oh, come on, I was just joking. That's just how we talk at work. Come on, let's head out. Wait. Despite Anna looking back at me a few times, Leo firmly led her away. Left alone, I was too stunned to process anything, sitting there in shock until the after-party ended. A few days after that disastrous end to the reunion. While I was still in shock, I found myself meeting with Anna again. I'm so sorry you had to come all this way. I really appreciate it. No problem. There had been an issue with a system we delivered to her company, and they asked me to come and fix it. It turned out to be a quick fix. But then, as always, Danny, you're amazing. I feel I can always count on you. Thanks. Actually, I wanted to apologize about what Leo said that night. Oh, no, it's fine. I was shocked to learn about her engagement and crushed by who she chose. But it seemed Anna had been just as shaken by hearing her fiance speak to me like that. Still looking uncertain, she wasn't her usual cheerful self. I also didn't know how to respond to her, and an awkward silence hung between us. I'm really sorry. He's not usually like that. But it didn't exactly sound like a complete joke, either. It was just a joke, that's all. That's just the vibe in the office sometimes. Really. I just wanted to lift Anna's spirits, even a little. With that in mind, I lied to her. In truth, Leo often goes far beyond harmless jokes when he's around me. Fortunately, it seemed to work. Anna's expression softened slightly, looking relieved. Then, out of nowhere, she clasped her hands together toward me. Danny, would it be too much to ask, but could you tell me more about Leo? Wait, what? Actually, I've been a little worried lately. And with that, she began sharing her concerns with me. She told me how they'd both been so busy recently that they hardly spent any time together. Every time she suggested a date, he turned her down, and she felt like she couldn't understand what he was thinking anymore. She admitted she was beginning to feel anxious. Of course, he's as kind as ever. But whenever I share my worries, he just says, "You'll be the president's wife someday. So stay confident." But I don't even feel that reality sinking in yet. I see. Is he really someone she should marry? The words were right on the tip of my tongue, but I swallowed them down. Even so, she loves Leo enough to choose marriage with him. Seeing that brought a sharp pang of pain to my chest. I'm sure he's working hard, he will be the president one day, after all. Since you're both in sales, how's he doing? Ah, yeah, his performance is really good. Really? Yeah. As much as I hate to admit it, Leo's talent is genuine. With his strong communication skills, he consistently ranks among the top in monthly sales performance. That's why no one suspects the darker side of him. And anything else? Sorry, but I really need to get back to work. Anything else I could say would only hurt her. Since I consciously avoid Leo as much as possible, I had little else I could share. Yet, when a woman you care for seeks your help, you feel compelled to step up. From the next day on, I started paying closer attention to Leo's behavior. If I could catch him being kind to others, maybe that would reassure Anna. And then, I saw a side of Leo the first could have never predicted. With such a beautiful woman, I'd worry about you going home alone. How about I give you a ride tonight? And maybe we could spend a little time together, just the two of us? When I saw that scene, I could hardly believe my eyes. There was Leo in the office kitchenette, standing close to a new female employee who'd just joined this year. He had his arm around her waist, leaning into her as he suggested a date. All right then, see you later. I was in shock. Sensing him about to leave, I quickly slipped away from the area. My heart was pounding, about to burst, yet my mind remained strangely clear, picturing Anna's face. What am I supposed to do about this? I just hoped I had misinterpreted the situation. To be sure, I discreetly checked around to see if anyone else had noticed anything. Unfortunately, what I learned only confirmed what I had seen. Leo? Oh, yeah, lots of rumors about him. You didn't know? He's got quite the reputation. In a bad way. But he's the future president, so no one dares to say anything publicly. People spoke of him with bitter expressions, prefacing each confession with, "Please, don't say I told you." Apparently, Leo had a habit of hitting on young female employees, inviting them on dates indiscriminately. And to make things worse, he was hiding the fact that he was engaged. What the hell? I had known Leo wasn't the kind of good-hearted person Anna believed him to be. But his level of cruelty exceeded even what I had imagined, and I felt a surge of blinding anger. Still, she kept asking, "So, how's Leo lately?" We haven't seen each other much, but I hope he isn't overworking himself. Just a few days later, after a routine meeting, Anna invited me to lunch and asked about him again. Yeah, he's doing well. Just really busy these days. Is that so? Well, I'm glad he's okay. Thanks, Danny. Yeah. I couldn't stand to see her face clouded with sadness because of anything I might say. So once again, I lied to her. But then, one day, I finally reached my limit. Engaged? Oh, boy. Who told you that? I heard these words echoing from the hallway late one evening, when I was the last one in the office. Leo. A sinking feeling formed in my gut as I quietly peeked out into the hall. Then, I'm only getting married because my parents insist. I don't have any romantic feelings, you're the only one I care about. A 30-year-old woman is too old for me to even consider her as a woman. Yet she keeps wanting to meet up every day. She's so clingy. And on top of that, she's a burden. She should look in the mirror before saying such things. With his arm around the shoulder of a younger female employee, Leo spoke those words. It was clear, even without him mentioning her name, who he was talking about, his fiance, the 30-year-old woman. I'm glad Leo's doing well. I could see Anna's gentle, relieved smile in my mind's eye. All this time, while she'd been worrying over him, Leo was. This is ridiculous. Leo, completely oblivious to my presence, ran his fingers through the younger woman's hair, smiling tenderly at her. With every smug gesture, my anger only intensified. And finally, I couldn't hold it back any longer. You know, long hair really only looks good on younger women. When older women try to grow it out, it just looks sloppy. I only compliment her to keep her happy. She should be able to figure that out by now. Does she still think she's young? It's just pathetic. Honestly, I regret ever getting engaged. Enough! I rushed out into the hallway, only to have a female employee shriek and scurry away. Leo looked shocked as I grabbed him by the collar and shoved him against the wall with all my strength. Danny! What the hell do you think you're doing? That's my line. Anna, you have any idea what she's, and you? I was so furious I could barely articulate what I wanted to say. But I pressed Leo harder against the wall, forcing out what I could. How much Anna cares for Leo. Ever since the reunion, all she's talked to me about has been him. She takes such care of her hair because she loves it when you compliment it, and yet, you. But my words didn't faze him in the slightest. Get your hands off me, you pathetic loser. Leo. Look at my suit, it's all wrinkled now. Do you even know how much this costs? You couldn't afford a custom-made suit like this on your pathetic salary, could you? Leo brushed off the collar of his suit with his hand and sighed dramatically, saying, "Good grief." Then, his face twisted into a sinister grin. Oh, could it be? Do you want my fiance for yourself? What? You seemed to be having a real good time chatting with Anna, didn't you? So that's it, the useless employee actually has the nerve to go after the future president's fiance. Impressive, Danny. No, it's not like that. I've cared about her for a long time. Well, whatever. If you want her, you can have her, my leftovers. She may look decent, but she's just an old, uptight, and suffocating woman. Actually, she's perfect for someone as worthless as you. And you know what? Turns out those high school grades are useless in the real world, huh? You used to walk around as if you were the smartest guy on earth. And now look at you, a high school grad with a dead-end job. Honestly, the former president, Mr. Klein, must have been an idiot to keep you in development. My dad was absolutely right to fire him. Ha ha. Laughing loudly, Leo walked away, clearly pleased with himself. I was left standing alone, my hand instinctively reaching into my chest pocket. Good thing I remembered this. Soon afterward, I was removed from the Anna account. When Leo came over, smirking and saying, "Tough luck," I could tell it was probably one of his spiteful tricks. But what hurt more than the job transfer was the reality that I wouldn't be seeing Anna anymore. I see, such a shame. I really enjoyed working with you, Danny. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't bring myself to look at her sad expression. I finished our last meeting with her in silence. Thanks for everything, Danny. I'll send you an invitation to the wedding, you have to come," she said with a cheerful smile, extending her hand. And at that moment, I couldn't hold back any longer. "Don't do it." "What?" "Don't marry him, Anna. He's a horrible person." What are you saying, Danny?" As she stared at me in shock, I spilled everything. How Leo was cheating with countless young women at the office. How rumors had spread quietly, and how most employees had already lost faith in him as the company's future president. How he'd been harassing me behind the scenes. And there's more. Gathering all my courage, I told her about the conversation I overheard recently. Leo already has no real intention of marrying Anna. So, she doesn't have to marry someone like him. If she went through with this, it would only end in heartbreak. I couldn't bear to see her hurt like that. But Anna shook her head. "Lies, that's horrible, Danny. Why would you make something like that up? It's the truth. He's never been the person you think he is, not even back in high school. Please, trust me." "Liar. Leo's always been serious, straightforward, and kind. I've watched him since back then, you know. I've loved him all this time, Danny. I know him better than you ever could. Anna, please leave. And don't come near me again." Her face was pale, her eyes brimming with tears, as she pointed shakily toward the door. With the room spinning around me, I mustered the last bit of strength I had, pulling an object from my chest pocket and placing it on the table. "I'll leave this here." "What's this? Is it a voice recorder?" "Yes. If you listen to it, I think you'll understand." The day I first witnessed Leo's infidelity, I felt a strong desire to save Anna. I bought the recorder, intentionally lingered near Leo, and caught his comments as he invited women on dates and insulted other employees. I'd only been there during that revealing encounter by chance, but no. With a trembling hand, Anna picked up the recorder. She pressed play, and the moment the recording started, she threw it violently onto the floor. "It was me who asked you to tell me about Leo, but I didn't ask you to go this far." She buried her face in her hands, and tears began to drip onto the floor. Without a word, I bent down, picked up the recorder, and set it back on the table. Then, I turned and walked toward the door. I just couldn't look the other way. "What? Your words saved me once, Anna. You said I couldn't just ignore it. You were the only person who ever told me that. It meant the world to me. Danny. I just didn't want you to end up feeling the way I did. I'm sorry. I overstepped. Goodbye, and take care." With those final words, I closed the door behind me. I'd hoped to leave with a smile, but who knows if I managed it. The only thing I knew for certain was that I wouldn't be smiling again anytime soon. After that, my life sank into utter darkness. Well, looks like you've lost the one thing you were good for, enthusiasm. Do you have any reason to keep showing up, Danny? I'm sorry, it won't happen again. Oh, don't worry. Honestly, I'd be grateful if you just left. There are plenty of people out there to replace a useless high school grad like you. I fell silent. I couldn't concentrate at all, making mistake after mistake, errors I would never have made before. Things had always been tense with Miles, but now he was treating me even more like an enemy. Maybe I should just quit for real. I was pushed to the brink to the point where I seriously started considering it. Anna's words haunted me, "I never want to see you again." So, this is heartbreak, huh? Guess I had something left to learn. If it hurt this much, I wish I'd never learned it. Maybe Anna had felt the same way when she threw the recorder away. Now, as I sat at my desk, I wondered if what I did had really been right. Just then, "Danny, can I talk to you for a minute?" It was my colleague who had taken over Anna's account from me. "What's up?" "This. Anna asked me to give this to you." "Huh? I took the note he handed me, barely able to believe it. On it was written, "Danny, I'm sorry about that day." A few days later, I went to the bar mentioned in her note, where Anna was already waiting. As soon as I sat down beside her, she bowed her head deeply. After that day, I listened to the recorder. I couldn't believe it, but I also knew you would never lie just to hurt someone. Yeah. It was a shock. Everything you said was true. I wondered if she hadn't been able to sleep since then. Dark circles were clearly visible under her downcast eyes. Her usually flowing hair was pulled back, looking less vibrant than the last time I'd seen her. Even so, I couldn't help but think, she's beautiful. Leo and I went to college together. When he confessed, I was so happy I could hardly believe it, even though I'd already heard rumors about his affairs. What? I didn't want to believe it. I kept looking the other way, and he would say things like, "Even if I cheat, you'll have to put up with it because you will be the president's wife someday," and my parents were already asking about grandchildren, so you thought if you just endured it? No. With tears threatening to spill, she gave a sad, wavering smile. It's all just excuses. The truth is, she was afraid to let go of all those years of feelings. For over a decade, she only had eyes for him. Now, at 30, the thought of finding love with someone new just feels impossible. She thought that if she had to break off the engagement with Leo and face life alone, then maybe it was better to just endure. And, no matter what, I could never bring myself to truly hate him. With those words, tears fell as Anna finally confessed her deepest fears. In that moment, I surprised myself by saying something I hadn't expected. "That's okay." What? I mean, your hair looks beautiful. No matter what anyone says, it's really beautiful. Really? I added that last part to cover my tracks, and Anna gave a faint, bittersweet smile. Thank you, it's nice to hear that. It's not just your hair. You've always been beautiful, Anna. And it's not just your looks, it's your heart. You're kind, genuine, and that's what Danny. Just one more word was all I needed to say. For years, I'd wanted to tell her I'd always loved her, but somehow, the words wouldn't leave my lips. I'd spent over a decade looking at only her, too. I wanted to tell her that even if she left Leo, she wouldn't be alone, but seeing me fall silent, Anna gently changed the subject. By the way, about Leo, have you noticed anything strange with him lately? I've actually been wondering for a while. He's been spending extravagantly, foreign cars, luxury watches, custom suits. He says his dad's paying for it all, and even his dad seems to live lavishly. And, no offense, but Danny, your company is. Yeah. She was right. Since Mr. Kirkland acquired our company, business has been in decline. Yet despite this, Mr. Kirkland and Leo's spending habits seem to keep escalating. Anna had been discreetly probing me about Leo to confirm her suspicions. If I could stop him, I thought I should as his fiance. I wondered if maybe he was involved in something he shouldn't be. I was speechless. Anna's face clouded with worry. Taking a deep breath, I finally decided to reveal the truth I knew. Listen carefully. The truth is, 1 month later, I made my way to the conference room, having heard that an emergency board meeting was being called at the company. And so, we'll be appointing my son here as the new vice president. I heard Mr. Kirkland's voice as he took a vote from the board members. At that moment, I opened the conference room door. Excuse me. You are Danny? What are you doing here? This is a board meeting. Mr. Kirkland and Leo, the latter already acting as if he were a board member, both raised their voices in surprise. Ignoring them, I walked directly to the center, facing the board members. And who are you? What's your department? The board's skeptical expressions were directed at me, and I introduced myself as Danny from sales. Then, I dropped the package I'd brought onto the table in front of them. Please, take a look at this before making any appointments. It will help you decide if Leo and Mr. Kirkland are really suitable to be in leadership positions. What? What's the meaning of this? Mr. Kirkland and Leo both fell silent, speechless. The other board members exchanged looks, murmuring in confusion. I casually handed out the packages to each of the executives. The order didn't matter at all. Because every document there was proof of the Kirkland family's corruption. First, we found suspicious transfers in the company's funds. Upon investigation, we discovered that large sums were repeatedly transferred to an unrelated account, under a company name that turned out to be a shell company established by Mr. Kirkland. He was in shock. Mr. Kirkland's face went pale, and the murmurs among the board members grew louder. Calmly, I continued reading out the contents of the documents. From embezzlement and bribe-taking to inflated expense claims, Mr. Kirkland and his son, using their positions, had exploited the company shamelessly. Their lavish lifestyle was funded by treating the company as an endless source of money. In addition, there are traces of falsified business data. The actual state of the company's finances is far worse than you may realize. Shut up! Sweating profusely, Leo lunged at me, grabbing me by the collar. He shoved his face close to mine, shouting incoherently, though it boiled down to one sentiment. Someone like you, a high school grad, couldn't possibly understand this. Get real, Danny. You're disturbing the busy board members. Get out now. Yes, exactly as Leo says. I'm ordering you to pick up those worthless papers and disappear, you useless high school grad. Buoyed by his son's bold words, Mr. Kirkland regained his vigor and gave my shoulder a powerful shove. I staggered back, but then felt someone behind me, catching my fall. Turning around, I saw. Are you all right, Danny? Mr. Klein. Just call me Simon now. He replied with his familiar, gentle smile. It was Simon, the former president, ousted by Mr. Kirkland. Mr. Kirkland, it's improper to rough up your employees, especially one as talented as Danny. What's that? Have you lost your mind since you were fired, you pathetic loser, Simon? This guy isn't talented. He's just a burden with a high school diploma. So that's why you removed Danny from the development team. If you hadn't made that foolish move, the company's performance wouldn't have declined like this. What? As Mr. Kirkland's face twisted in confusion, I exchanged a nod with Simon, ready to reveal how I'd gathered all the evidence. Suspicious fund flows, emails requesting bribes, falsified data, all of these were tracked through a certain system. A system? Yes. It's a system created to detect any internal misconduct, like embezzlement, within the company. It monitors any misuse of internal computers with a 100% detection rate, without alerting the culprit. Ha! Ridiculous. If such a system exists, its creator must be a genius. Mr. Kirkland scoffed at my explanation. Then Simon let out a big laugh, going, Ha! What's so funny, Simon? The fool here is you, Mr. Kirkland. You tossed this genius into sales and threw away the company's potential. What are you saying? The creator of that system is none other than Danny, this talented system engineer standing right here. What? Mr. Kirkland, Leo, and even the board members all turned their wide eyes toward me. Feeling their stares, I couldn't help but smile awkwardly, remembering the time when Simon had first called me a genius. Since I was young, I'd always felt out of place. For example, while other kids my age were excited about toys, I found no interest in them. I didn't want to play with them or talk with them. Instead, I spent my time alone, absorbed in reading encyclopedias. My parents, thinking there was something wrong with me, took me to a doctor, where they learned my IQ was close to 200. Listen, Danny. Don't think of yourself as special. No matter how smart you are, you won't survive in society unless you can get along with others. Don't tell anyone about your IQ. People will think you're strange. My parents apparently couldn't bear to admit that their son was different. They always told me to get along with everyone, to act like everyone else. They wanted so badly to raise me as a normal child. And outside, I felt that everyone around me was much younger mentally, making it impossible to fit in. Thus, I spent my days isolated at home and school. Eventually, in my final year of high school, I decided to go against my teacher's advice and enter the workforce. If I couldn't connect with people my age, I figured I might as well join the adult world sooner. Because I felt that, by doing so, I might meet someone who would truly understand me. And I did. Wow, you taught yourself programming? That's incredible. You're a real genius. In high school, if Anna was the first person to show me kindness, then Simon was the first person to truly acknowledge me. During the interview, he was the only one who genuinely listened to what I had to say. And despite opposition from others, he hired me as a system engineer. It must have been tough for you all this time. But you pushed through it. That's something remarkable, Danny. I was speechless. It's not just your smarts, I admire your resilience. I'll do everything I can as president to make this company a place where you can thrive. Just be yourself and do your best here, okay? Yes. I will. Thank you, Mr. Klein. That was the first time I ever cried in front of someone. And Simon kept his promise. Knowing I struggled with social interactions, he issued a presidential order allowing me to skip company parties and social gatherings. He also personally bridged the gap between me and my colleagues. With his support, I was able to focus entirely on my work, achieving success in developing groundbreaking systems. With those accomplishments, I finally started gaining recognition from my colleagues and took on a major project. That is the development of a system to detect internal corporate fraud. The project was promising, and we were certain it would make waves and propel the company forward. But just as we reached that critical moment, the company was bought out, and Simon stepped down. Under the new president, Mr. Kirkland's dismissive view that someone with only a high school diploma couldn't possibly develop systems, I was transferred to the sales department. So you finished it on your own, Danny. Simon, with a deeply moved expression, placed a hand on my shoulder. I placed my hand over his and nodded. It's still in the prototype stage, and I couldn't have gotten this far alone. My team in development helped me behind the scenes, staying hidden from Mr. Kirkland. So the team's been helping too. I'm sorry. If I'd been quicker, maybe we could have prevented the buyout. It's all right. Thanks to this, certain people here have just proven your talent in the most dramatic way possible. Isn't that right? Simon, who was always calm, shot a sharp glare. Ah. Eek? Mr. Kirkland and Leo both turned pale, dropping to the floor in shock. As the two sat there in disbelief, several of the board members stood up and surrounded them. Then Tyler turned to me and Simon. Danny, we'd like to hear the full details. Can you explain? Yes. We'll also have Simon join us in the following meetings. It looks like you'll be returning as our president. Of course. When Simon gave a big nod, Mr. Kirkland finally lost his last bit of resolve and slumped his shoulders in defeat. Seeing this, Leo weakly murmured, "Dad. I'm sorry. I'll tell you everything." He too slumped in despair. After that, Mr. Kirkland's misconduct was exposed, and he was removed from his position on the board. His favorite employees went into a panic. Since the majority of them had been involved in misconduct, they were all dismissed along with Leo. With the arrogant Kirkland faction purged, the office atmosphere improved dramatically. Under the new presidential order from Simon, who had been reinstated as president, I was back in the systems development department. I was welcomed warmly by my colleagues, and with the backing of Tyler and others who now respected my abilities, I was unanimously promoted to project manager. Now, my team and I are steadily, albeit gradually, bringing the company's performance back on track together. Eventually, the Kirkland father and son were arrested for embezzlement and various other crimes. With a guilty verdict certain, it looks like they'll be serving time to atone for their actions. But when they're released, they'll still face a massive compensation debt to the company. To atone for everything, it will likely take almost a lifetime. First off, well done, Danny. After Leo's issues were finally put to rest, I met up with Anna again at that bar. There she was, waiting for me at the counter, with her long hair cut short, ending at her neck. It's quite a change, isn't it? Everyone keeps asking, did something happen? Oh, yeah. Even though her fiance's arrest was a huge, life-altering event, Anna looked surprisingly refreshed, almost radiant. The reason soon became clear. I broke it off. I ended things with Leo myself. What? Just before he was arrested, he came to see me, begging, if you love me, hide me. When I saw him like that, I was completely over it. I couldn't believe I'd loved someone like that for so long, when there were so many better people out there. What? At those last words, she looked directly into my eyes, and my heart thumped harder than ever before. Should I grow my hair out again? No, it's beautiful, even short. Really? Thank you. Then, let's toast to both of us. Cheers. With a bright smile, she clinked her glass against mine. That gesture, that expression, it was so beautiful I couldn't look away. And once again, that feeling stirred within me. Anna, hey, Danny. What did you mean when you said, that's okay? Huh? You told me that, here in this bar. I'd been curious ever since. Well, that's... Tell me, please? Gradually, her body leaned closer to me. Her refined features and beautiful short hair were now so close I could almost touch them. And finally, I had no choice but to confess. No matter who you love, I think I'll always love you. That's what I wanted to say. You think? No. I mean, definitely. Even if you married someone else. Would you be okay with that? No. I don't want you to marry anyone else. For once, the words came out honestly and effortlessly. And as if she'd been waiting for it, a single tear fell onto my hand. All right, I won't. Ah. With her eyes full of tears, Anna smiled. Gently, I placed my hand over hers. Anna. Would you date me with marriage in mind? Someday, when her wounds are fully healed, I'll propose to her for real. Not, I don't want you to be with anyone else. I'd say, please marry me. Because I'm sure she would nod with that radiant smile of hers, just like she does now. I believe that any object or person must be placed in its rightful place in order to shine with its true brilliance. I know a woman who ended a love that brought her only sadness, even though she loved deeply. Now, she's more radiant than ever before. Perhaps, it's because I am that place where she belongs. Could I dare to believe that? And I, too, have finally returned to a place where I can fully utilize my abilities. Now, each day feels bright and fulfilling, as if the future itself is shimmering before me. If these days continue, I plan to give my all, holding nothing back, putting forth my very best effort.